Hello, my name is Martin Kopp, and I want to invite you to discuss the imitation of Christ or the portrait of disciple according to Paul's letter to the Colossians. For me, it's a very important letter. I like the text, I like read it and think through it. How can I be a disciple of Christ? We know that in letters there is no mentioning about the term of the disciple, but there is many teaching how we can follow the Christ. And if we look on the letter to the Colossians, we find that the main topic of the letter we can name Christ in us. And now we can look what does it mean? What is it the background of the letter? Who was Paul, who was Colossians to him, and how we can put the message of the discipleship. Only in short, brief example, but with the direct um, influence to our lives. First, we need to know what was the relationship between Paul and Colossians. When we read the letters, it's good to have in mind that we hear only half of the story. We know the story of what the author of the letter is telling to us and to the church in Colossians. But we don't know how they interact before, how they know together. We know only what is written in the letter, and we think about the second part. But we know that a letter is this letter is written to the people whom Paul didn't know before. He don't lead them to the faith. He only know them through his co-workers Epaphras. And we also know that he wasn't before in Colossians. He knows them through Epaphras and through what he has telling about them. Also, this is the letter that Paul wrote together with his co-worker and disciple Timothy. It's not only his thinking. They are both in the beginning of the letter mentions, and they both think on the things that are written in the letter. In the letter, he writes from the prison. It's one of his prison letters. We don't know where he was Paul prisoned, but we know that there are several possibilities, and one of them it's maybe the Ephesus because it's near to the Colosseum. And there are people from Colossians that can cooperate with people from Ephesus, and they can change the letters and discuss it together. We also know that the letter has the approach to the listeners according to the hope that Paul has for them. And the hope is the message of Epaphras that he brings good news about the Christians in Colossae. And from that point, we can start listen the message of discipleship in the letter of the Colossians. Paul wants to convey the Colossians Christian, and he started with a short prayer. It's typical for Paul's letter, and it's typical for the letters of the first century time. And Paul started with fulfillment, with knowledge of his will, that he knows that Colossians are good in God. He started to continue to please the Lord in all things, to lead for the life that Colossians lead. He continued with things that he knows from Epaphras about them, that they bear fruit in every good deed and grow in the knowledge of the Lord. He also pray for his aim, that he wants strength them with every power of God. He wants uh, to know that they are growing in God, and he gives thanks with joy for them. He is really excited of their lives, but he knows some things that can be bad for them, and he wants lead them to live in Christ and to avoid the things that can mislead them and lead them to false teaching and to the bad experience in the end of the life. And from that point of view, we can look at the whole conception of the letter. Paul divided his letter in this way. First is his poem about the Christ, he in us, and what does it change. And he divided the letter in two parts. The first part is what happens to us with him. He describes what is means Christ's work in this earth. The second part is what changes he in us. And now we look what happens to us with him. Here are several passages with several topics. The first is in the end of the first chapter. There is describing the mystery of Christ in us. What does Christ in us? The second topic is Christ in whom we take the root. It's about Christ's work on the cross and who is the Christ and what does it mean for us. The third topic is Christ in whom it happened, and it's what happened, our victory over the sin and how Christ lead us in the with other people to the victory march. The fourth is Christ in whom everything changes. And from that point of view, we can go to the what change is he in us. And here we can see next few things. Main topics are three. First is my striving, thinking, and teaching. We can hear in the beginning third chapter that we can put down our behaviors and take Christ behaviors. We can look at what happened in the heaven and have this kind of thinking of the heaven and not the thinking of the earth. From that point of view, we can look at our neighbors and people around us. Here is also the board with commandments of new life and the description of the new life more than the commandments. And we can here listen, how can we live it? And the third thing is how we can deal together with others. That's in the nutshell of the message of the Colossians and what we can learn about discipleship. It's a complete picture, and we can now stop for short in the text in the main passage 1:15 to 23. And because we don't have so much time, only telegraphically. The main topic, he in us, is directly pointed with many other texts in this letter. But the message of the text is he and we in him. We can see the imagination of the invisible God, introduction, in all creation. He is the firstborn. We can see the goal of the image of God is reconciliation of all things through the cross in him. We can see you and me, how we can be reconciled and how we can be lead to serve him and together with him. Thank you for your time, and I hope that it brings you something interesting for your life.